Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is July 10th. On this day in 2020, 10-year-old Bresia Terrell vanished after what was supposed to be an ordinary sleepover at a relative's home in Davenport, Iowa. She said goodnight, fell asleep, and was never seen alive again. Her disappearance sparked heartbreak across her community, not just because she was a child, but because of where she was and who she was with. A man her mother never fully trusted. A man with a disturbing past. It would take nearly 9 agonizing months before Bresia's body was found, and nearly a full year after that before the man suspected of killing her was officially charged. Today, we're honoring the memory of Bresia Terrell, a bright, joyful little girl, and following the long road to justice. Let's get started. Bresia Terrell, or Bree as everyone called her, was just 10 years old when she disappeared, only weeks away from turning 11. She was full of energy and laughter and had this magnetic warmth that people instantly noticed. Her teachers at Madison Elementary adored her. Her classmates loved being around her. She just had this natural spark that made you remember her. Bree was a talented basketball player. She was quick on her feet, competitive, and was always one to encourage her teammates. But it wasn't just sports. Bresia loved music, dancing, and goofing around with friends. Her school even created purple jerseys, her favorite color, with her name after her disappearance. It was just a small tribute to a little girl who'd left a huge hole in their hearts. At home, she was inseparable from her mother, Aisha Langford. They were a tight-knit pair, laughing, cooking, and helping each other out around the house. Bresia also had a younger half-brother, Darnell, and she doted on him constantly. When Bresia disappeared, it was like the world cracked open for her family. Her mom would later say, quote, "My life is still July 10th, 2020, end quote. It's a date that froze her in place. But the night of July 9th started off like so many others. Bree was spending the night at the apartment of her half-brother's father, Henry Earl Dinkins, a man who'd she known for most of her life. Dinkins lived in Davenport with his new partner, Andrew Culberson. Despite Dinkins being a registered sex offender with a conviction for abusing a minor years before, Aisha allowed the visit. She never imagined anything like this would happen. But around 3 a.m. on July 10th, Andrea woke up to find both Dinkins and Bree gone. That same morning, Dinkins called 911 reporting Bree is missing. He gave a vague explanation, something about her leaving during the night. But the story didn't sit right, not with Aisha and not with police. Within hours, Bresia's name was on an Amber Alert. Search teams mobilized. Volunteers, police, canine units, drones, they all combed through parks, woods, ponds, and highways. Even the FBI joined in on the search. For weeks and then months, the people of Davenport didn't give up. They wore purple and they shared Bresia's photo across social media. Her name was everywhere, but she was still missing. The investigation was moving quickly behind the scenes. Within days, Dinkins was arrested, not for Bresia's disappearance, but for failure to comply with sex offender registry rules. He had changed addresses without reporting it and had continued contact with minors. Then, 8 months after Bree disappeared, on March 22nd, 2021, fishermen stumbled upon human remains near a small pond off of Highway 61, about 20 miles north of Davenport. Forensic testing confirmed the heartbreaking truth. It was Bresia. Investigators called it a homicide, and what they discovered next made that painfully clear. Bree had been shot. Forensic experts found bullet fragments in her skull and in her shoulder blades. Branches had been deliberately placed over her body, a sad attempt at covering up the horror that had been done to her. On May 5th, 2021, Henry Earl Dinkins was officially charged with first-degree kidnapping and murder. His trial didn't begin right away, though. There were delays, motions, evaluations, and COVID-related backlogs. But eventually, in September 2023, he faced a bench trial, meaning that a judge, not a jury, would decide his fate. On September 15th, 2023, the judge found Dinkins guilty on both counts. During sentencing, Dinkins showed no remorse. Judge Henry Latham imposed 2 life sentences to be served consecutively with no chance of parole. At the hearing, Bree's mother, Aisha, stood up and spoke directly to Dinkins. Quote, "Closure doesn't exist in this case. Justice doesn't exist in this case. You didn't just take my baby's life. You took everything from me." End quote. In June 2024, Dinkins also received an additional 10-year federal sentence for drug trafficking, though it won't change the fact that he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. For Bree's family, justice is more than a conviction. It's about preventing this from happening to anyone else. Bresia Terrell should have turned 14 this year. She should have been getting ready for high school, going to dances, hanging out with friends, and arguing with her mom about curfews. She should have been living her life. But instead, her family marks this day with grief and remembrance. They still wear purple, they still hold her memory close, and they still speak her name because Bree mattered. And even though her life was far too short, it changed the lives of everyone who loved her, and even those who never had the opportunity to meet her. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Bree's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day, True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!